There are many spirits that we war against as Christians today, such as the spirit of idolatry, spirits of sexual sin, and so on. One of the most prevalent in a Christian society is the war that is faced with the spirit of Mammon. Mammon is an Aramaic word that essentially means, as Anne quoted, money or riches. You may recognize Mammon as a New Testament word. Jesus mentioned it in a few places, and one of those was found in Matthew chapter 6 and verse 24. Matthew chapter 6 verse 24 says, "No one can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other." You cannot serve both God and money. That word in the New Living Translation is mammon. You cannot serve God and serve money. Money that is substituted or submitted to God and his purpose has the Spirit of God on it, which is why it multiplies and cannot be consumed by the devourer. Wealth that is devoted to serving him rather than trying to replace him is blessed by God. I was trying to replace God with money and trying to pay my bills, trying to make sure my rent and my car payment and my car insurance and all this was paid. I wasn't thinking about God. I was just thinking about how can I get through life with not having to worry about all of these bills. Bills are always going to be there. Bills are always going to be there. But God is faithful to provide. Mammon is nothing more than the system of this fallen world that stands in sharp opposition to God and his ways. For example, Mammon says to buy and sell, God says to sow and reap. Mammon says to cheat and steal, but God says to give and receive. But more than anything, Mammon wants to rule your life. The spirit of Mammon has two friends. The first friend is poverty. The second friend is pride. Poverty, which can cause you to be ashamed of his blessings. Being a giver will result in blessing. That's inevitable. Whenever you begin to give, God will begin to bless you. How many have been blessed so far with their giving? Giving of your time, giving of your talent, giving of your treasure. God will bless you. Poverty makes you feel that you aren't worthy of such a blessing and favor from God that God has bestowed upon you. Sometimes he'll bring up your past and you'll feel horrible when you should be filled with joy. Why are you being blessed of God? So what? You gave $100. And he'll try to make you feel ashamed when you get blessed of God. God may have given you another $100. Maybe he'll give you $200. Oh, but look what you've done. He's trying to outweigh the blessing of God and put you in a place of shame, put you in a place of poverty. But that is not what God has planned or designed. The other is pride. Pride says, you've earned this stuff. You're a hard worker. Ingenuity and talent have made it all happen. Thus, you should be proud of the blessings you have received. The spirit of pride says, and this is in your blanks, wealth comes from hard work. The spirit of poverty says wealth is from the devil. The second one says the spirit of pride says you should be proud of what you have. The spirit of poverty says you should be ashamed of what you have. They are both traps because they focus on things instead of the real focus, which should be on God. There is nothing wrong with having things, but it's our perspective and where we place those things and our relationship or relation to our relationship with God and who blesses us. It's not about what God gives us. It's not about the things that God blesses us with, but it's how we put those in perspective in our relationship with God. It's called gratitude. God not only uses our stuff to test us, but he uses the people, or he uses other people's stuff to test us as well. Ooh, that's gonna get you. He's gonna get you. Sometimes we have failed that test. Well, look at them. They just walk around here with all their lavish clothes and their Cadillacs and all this money and all their jewelry. And how can God bless such people? They're so flaunty with this, that, and the other. You failed. You have failed the test. How God decides to bless others is not for us to cast judgment upon them. If anything, it should encourage us that God still blesses. You don't know what they've had to go through to get to where they are. Reminds me of the woman with the alabaster box. You can only see the after effect of her sacrifice. What some people think is waste, God views as an act of thanksgiving. Putting things in their proper place in your life will allow God's blessings to continue to fall on you. Clarence back there, he's sitting on the back row, gave a testimony a few weeks ago of God's healing and how God had delivered him after 5 years of suffering and a financial blessing that God worked out for him in just a matter of days. Did that make me jealous? Absolutely not. It made me rejoice because it reconfirmed to me that God is still a healer and that God is still a provider.